If you were Prime Minister, how would you ease food insecurity issues for low-income families?
It feels like money hoarding to me by rich conglomerations, and the government can absolutely attack that without having to worry about handing out money to the everyday people, which I'm not against, but I do think there's room there for legislation to regulate how prices are raised in this kind of situation.
Competition. The problem is that we have probably 3 or 4 families that own every grocery store there is. It's really a monopoly in some respects. So we need more competition. We probably have the rules in place, so focus on the rules to ensure that competition stays. Yeah, competition brings down prices, makes people efficient.
I feel that those are very big shoes to be in, and I just feel that one thing that the big name supermarkets should be investigated with price gouging, increase in bread prices. Sorry, the cold is affecting my throat. Increase bread prices and increase in all food prices.
I feel like even just amongst my own family and friends, there is a lot of food wastage. So I guess I personally would focus on how to kind of like bring people's awareness to the fact that they should be more conservative with their food. I think awareness is definitely number one.
I mean, there's got to be some like subsidiary programs that can help low-income families get groceries and stuff like that. That would be amazing, obviously. I also think being on an island here, price gouging is out of hand because it comes by freight. So there's definitely a lot of things they could do. I definitely think subsidiary program would be my go-to thing, something like that for low-income families. So go to the right people.
Well, invest more, give more money to the farmers, probably. I mean, most of our food is coming from our own farms.
I'd probably, a lot of politicians, especially on the Liberal Conservative side, especially Conservative, they've been reluctant to bring in a guaranteed annual income, right? But you're paying out money in welfare anyway. You're paying out money in all kinds of benefits, you know what I'm saying? And people are on the streets because they haven't got enough place, a decent place to stay or a place to stay, and haven't got enough money for the basics. So, the thing is, I know, sure, there would be a very small, I think small, but a very small group of people who would deliberately take advantage of the free ride sort of thing. But I think the vast majority of people would benefit from that. And there would be less homeless and so on, and to provide more housing. It's expensive, yes, the upfront cost of all that is terribly expensive, but at the same time, what's the cost of jails and mental hospitals and blah, 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 and crime? So, you got to balance it out, right?
I'd rather see the change in price rather than give out, a couple $100s to people here and there, and see some action besides some words, but
I wouldn't even know. Well, first off, that sugar tax that they just made, that's kind of crazy as it is. I mean, we're already in an isolated province as it is. Things are more expensive to get to us, and then in order to purchase it. I personally live alone, so buying fresh fruit and vegetables and stuff like that is kind of hard because I end up throwing it out most of the times because it's just me. So it goes bad before I can eat it. Certainly would like to see some better pricing, but I don't know how they would achieve that.
More affordable housing, I think, is probably where we start with. I think real estate's been quite an issue, and I don't know. I mean, I'm not an expert on this, but that's where I would start with that.
Also taking advantage of the produce that perhaps isn't pretty. Having maybe those in a special store along with cans that come out dented or the labels ripped or stuff, because things like that don't go on the shelves, and there's no reason that product can't be sold at a lower cost for those people.
Inflation prices are just insane now. Even people that are making a good salary these days are finding that groceries are insane and housing is insane. So for low-income families especially, I think just more accessibility to food and more accessibility to better housing so that they can actually have somewhere to go for their food. I know there's food banks, but just more people donating hopefully, and maybe having some sort of grocery store that's a little bit less expensive for those like low-income families some way. I don't know, that's a tough one.
So you actually have to fix prices for food insecurity, for homelessness. It's actually predictable that happens. Like real estate is the good example related to that. is if there's a constant demand, the prices stay up. Well, what that provides, it makes homelessness predictable because the rents, and things like that are predictable. If you fix prices, however, on fundamental needs, just like the universal basic income, if you give everyone that and do it in a certain way, it actually can work. But if you fix prices on foods, right, then everyone can have food, and everyone can have, you can have a free market around some things, but around basic needs, around housing, having food, and enough money to live.
I think the grocery stores make too much of a profit right now. I think that's proven. So I would have the grocery stores make less of a profit and give us a break.